We have three distinguished speakers from the Audi company. We'll talk about sustainability in transport, in car transport, of course. Let me quickly introduce who will be with us today. In the order of appearance, we have Henrik Wenders. He's the Senior Vice President of the Audi brand. Then Rüdiger Recknagel, he's the Chief Environmental Officer of Audi, of the Audi Group, and Managing Director of the Audi Environment Foundation. And here is Marco Philippi. He's the Head of Strategy Procurement. He is making sure that all the bits and pieces are at the right time, at the right place, and with the lowest CO2 footprint which could be possible. Audi has strong targets with their CO2 reduction and sustainability in general. And who could answer better? Henrik, what is behind the strategy to be carbon neutral within 30 decades, which is 2050?
I think first of all, it starts with interest and motivation. So at Audi, we are a truly value-based company and true passionate about living progress and defining future. So it's very authentic and touches the entire value chain from supplying, manufacturing, and of course usage and recycling. And based on this mindset, we have this ambitious goal to become carbon neutral by 2050. And in order to do so, we are making sure that we are decarbonize supply chain, decarbonize production, and of course I have to make sure in my role that everyone knows about it and share with the world out there that it's possible to drive and enjoy mobility carbon neutral. So we have now these days we are having electric cars on the road already, and they are available, they are driving, and I'm enjoying them myself on a daily basis. So we are, and there's more to come. So by 2025, so just within the next 5 years, we will launch 30 electrified vehicles, and 20 of them will be entirely electric vehicles, the other ones plug-in hybrids. So it's a broad portfolio from the entry models up to the next year sports models. So even sports car enthusiasts can drive without a carbon footprint. And on top of that, of course, besides the portfolio is charging infrastructure, a key element we all know. So this is why we are investing a lot in charging infrastructure. And I'm an EV driver myself since 10 years, so I know about charging infrastructure and range. I know about it very well. So, and with 155 charging points in just 25 countries in Europe alone, I think there's no excuse not flipping the switch. So I hope that many more, also after this session, will join me to drive electric and become CO2 neutral.
Wow. Well, changing fuel from fossil energy carrier to electrons, that's one thing. But we need to consider the whole production, and the production site as such is supposed to be carbon neutral. How do you want to achieve this tremendous goal?
So our goal is to be carbon neutral in all our production sites in 2025.
Which is in 5 years?
Which is in 5 years, yes. It's surprising because 5 years ago, to be honest, nobody knew how to run a whole factory carbon neutral by balance, like we do. So we did this in Brussels 2 years ago. We achieved this goal. And we are going forward. Győr in Hungary is the second that we are running CO2 neutral, and then we continue until 2025, and there's a lot of work to do, and we are on a good way. So perhaps you will ask, how are you doing this? How is this possible, such a plant, a big plant where you produce several hundred thousands of cars per year? How is it possible to run such a plant CO2 neutral? So first, you have to consider the electricity. That means green electricity, you can get it from hydropower, like we do in Ingolstadt. So in Ingolstadt, we started 8 years ago. 8 years ago, when nobody thought at climate change and things like this, we started green energy from hydropower. Then our second highlight is now the biggest PV photovoltaic station on a roof. It's about 160,000 square meters of photovoltaic that we are going to inaugurate on 6th of October in Győr in Hungary. It's the biggest photovoltaic in Europe on roof. So we are proud to do this. This is electricity. Then the second you have to do is heat. You need CO2 neutral heat. So what we are doing there, we are using biogas in Brussels, and we are using geothermy, which is really very good for the environment. We take water from 2,000 meters depth, from 100 degrees, and it's completely CO2 neutral for the heat. And so we are going to become CO2 neutral in all our plants. And concerning electricity, we are CO2 neutral now. That means all our energy from electricity is now CO2 neutral. But if I can mention this, we have a strategy. Our strategy is called Mission Zero. And in this strategy, we try to have a really consistently sustainable production. And there is not only CO2 consumption and climate change. There are more other challenges, 3 other challenges, and I like also to focus on these challenges, what we are doing, because the second point is water consumption, water usage. You know, water is a precious good. More than 1 billion people don't have access to clean drinking water, and that's why we also focus on this. It's a local problem, so we focus on this especially in Mexico, where we reuse, reduce and recycle with new technologies. And in Mexico, we are also proud of this, we are the first wastewater-free factory. So wastewater-free, and that's what we need to do to save water. That is water usage. Third is raw materials. We want to economize raw materials. Everyone does this with steel, with aluminium. I think Marco, he will tell us about aluminium, where we work close together. But what we do here at Audi, supplementary, we also do land recycling. If you know, in Germany, every day, there's a consumption of 100 soccer fields of land. 100 soccer fields every day. And what we are doing, we have a remediation project in Ingolstadt, where we do a remediation of an old refinery that was closed in 2005, where we take out of the soil more than 900 tons of heavy oil, more than 200 tons of gasoline. With a big washing machine of 26-meter heat, we wash the soil, and then we give land back to the nature, 20 soccer fields, and the rest is for us, for a new campus, for a new research center where we're doing autonomous driving and software organization. So this is the raw materials, the resource consumption. And the last point I also want to mention is biodiversity. It's the most important. People can't live without species. If we lose our species, we are lost. So we do this in all our production sites. We have projects like green belts, like planting old trees, like also pits where we collect water. So a lot of things we do, and so I think I talked a lot now. But we have many small things, and all together in Mission Zero, we can achieve the goal to be a really environmental friendly company in the production.
This is impressive. I just had a look on my screen because all of you are invited to raise questions, also online. So whatever appeals to you or questions. I mean, you will hardly ever have such a sophisticated audience from speakers from Audi anymore. Raise your questions. They will pop up here on my display, and I will pass them on. Now we've heard of change, paradigm shift from in terms of fuels to sustainable electrons and the production sites with circular economy. But Audi is also buying stuff from others, so the supply chain is key because you can do whatever you want. If the CO2 footprint comes from the goods, from steel and from whatever else, and on the lithium and whatever, then you cannot achieve your goals. So therefore, we have discussed 16,000 2,000 suppliers are depend on you in a way.
Right.
So, and if they don't behave well, they won't be a supplier anymore. So how do you teach your suppliers to follow the same targets as you do as an Audi brand?
Well, actually, like it's not that we're kind of excluding anyone. It's more like a process of learning. And what I really like is at Audi that we have a comprehensive view on what we do on sustainability. Like we look at the whole value chain. So like the people sitting here, so I'm at the very beginning, at the, let's say, upstream. So this is where the suppliers are located. And we're convinced that we have a responsibility. But also we have the power to change something. Because as you said, so we're a customer, and we have actually like 16,000 people and supplier where we are in dialogue. And if we as a customer want to change something, then we can discuss things and we can change things. So, and we can change it on a single supplier level, and we can change it on an industry level. And actually that's our approach. So we want to make a positive impact by how we act as a customer. And how we do this, so we have several, let's say, aspects we're kind of going into in managing a supply chain strategy. So the first is environment, which is very much linked with CO2 emissions. But of course, we have the whole spectrum of what we call people. So human rights and how do we produce things, and also innovation, because we think you need tools to really put transparency, for example, into the supply chain to really manage things. And if we put the focus on the carbon dioxide, we said 2018, okay, let's see what happens in the supply chain when we go into this e-mobility era. And for us in procurement, it's not like for everybody else if you look at the total vehicle balance where it goes down, but for us in procurement, the balance goes up, because you have the battery there. So the battery is very, let's say, energy intensive, not only the battery production, but also all the materials for the cathode and stuff that we need for the battery. They're very energy demanding. So for us in procurement, we have to find ways to really optimize the footprint before the car really kind of, or the parts come to a factory. So what we did like supplier program, sustainability in the supply chain. We had a lot of, let's say, workshops with suppliers, and now we have about like 50 ideas where we say that until 2025, and for sure we want to have more for the times to come, we can save 1.2 tons per vehicle. So that's a share for the beginning. And examples how we reach this, I think one big lever is that we produce our cells, our battery cells, only with green energy. So this is a part of the contracts we have with our suppliers. And another thing is, this is something we do together also with Rüdiger, is, for example, that we do something in circular economy. For example, the aluminum closed loop. So this is something we started very early. You know, like aluminum for Audi is kind of a heritage, yeah, the space frame. So that's actually a material we manage very well, and we managed to implement the aluminum closed loop already in Neckarsulm, in Ingolstadt. It will come soon in Győr, and it's 350,000 tons of carbon dioxide we saved so far, only 150,000 last year, and there's more to come. So we will expand that, and you know, this circular economy is part of our strategy as a whole. So there might be other materials definitely possible, and we will work on that to get more circular. As we heard yesterday in the beginning of the conference, circular is key for sustainability as a whole.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, a car, as you buy it now, an internal combustion engine car, has a, if you do the whole life cycle analysis, say roughly about 10 tons of CO2 as a package already. but a battery car, as you say, is on the order of 20. I mean, just to give a rough order of magnitude. So the 10 tons in between has to be saved during the operation of the car owner. So how can you also make sure that the electricity which is used for your cars does not necessarily come from the public grid, but how can you be in touch with your customer that the CO2 footprint for the electricity to recharge the cars is as CO2 reduced as possible?
So I think this is something where you have to convince the customer. So you can do that by to have the right offering. So what we do, so we offer green energy for our customers. But for sure, this is something we have to work together. So the whole topic on sustainability, everybody involved in the value chain, and this in the life cycle especially, and this includes the customer and the usage part. We have to work together. So if you're not willing to use green energy for a battery vehicle, then it will not yield the full potential. So we have to be green from the beginning. I'm convincing our supply chain, and I think Henrik and the sales guys have to convince and get the consumers on board to use green energy as well, right?
Yeah, and also maybe leading by example, right? So because I just became an electricity producer myself. So I just installed my own photovoltaic system, producing the amount of energy I'm consuming per year. So because I'm feeling motivated to do so. What Bertrand Piccard said yesterday, also his advice I appreciate it, because to look at it also from a profitability perspective. Because I also did my math and I said, all right, so by just look at the efficiency level of those systems today, I'm able to offset the system. I'm reaching my return on investment. I'm going to be break even in just 5 years. Mm-hmm. Well, so think about it. So besides the good feeling and the value-driven approach, I think it's also worth looking at from a profitability approach, perspective. With regards to the grid system, of course, we also have to take into account that in Europe, at least, the electricity in the grid is limited, right? So we are not producing more energy just for electric cars. We are just taking the energy out of the grid, which is in the grid anyway. Right, so which is also for me a motivating has always been a motivating factor to drive EV, because by driving my EV, I'm not requesting any single more kilowatt. It's in the system already. We are simply not using it, and due to the fact that we, as a human mankind, usually sleeping at night and being active during the day, I'm taking the electricity out of the grid during the night in order to support my mobility during the day. So think about it from those two. I just can invite everyone, and as you said, I'm the marketing guy here. So please, I just can invite you all to think about it. The electricity is in the system already. The range is there. The charging infrastructure is there. There is product portfolio for every single pocket available now. And do the math, and then you will see how profitable and cost-effective it also can be on top of this beautiful experience, this silent zero-emission drive.
Maybe another quick word about customers, because you have to meet the customer demand.
Yeah.
And the strong targets you have with net zero CO2, this is a tremendous effort which costs money, obviously, and you're nowadays even more than ever, you're in a strong competition with the other OEMs. And they might have the same targets, but they might be a bit more loose in terms of, 2050, maybe 2060, or who knows, And that can be translated to a lower cost in the whole value chain through production and so on. How can you? I assume you have to be in close touch with your customers to make this story that yes, the cars we have, what you buy is the least CO2 footprint you can get on this planet at the moment, but it has a certain on top price value. Can you as a marketing guy, can you translate this difference to your final customer?
I think most important is to explain to the customer that it's a sense that we have a sense of urgency here, because we all cannot postpone climate change. So there's no opportunity to postpone it. So we have to get in action now, and this is something we have to do together. So this is why also with regards to the other OEMs, it's not about competition, it's about joint forces, because we are on the same planet and in the same boat, right? So we have to get rid of this, and therefore we all have to leverage our technical competence in order to apply the technology today. And of course, we are having 16,000 suppliers, and they're not supplying just us, they're also supplying the others. So, and if we all change our consuming habits, we will change an entire industry. So we have just learned from Rüdiger what we can do in our house to change. And as Marco described, we can change with our values and our mindset and our interest also the entire supplying industry, and not just for us, also for the others. So even if there's another OEM maybe not getting the point, and maybe willing to postpone change because it's cheaper, easier, and complicated. Why? Maybe not this year because I want to provide good numbers, etc. Right? So, but I think those conferences and those initiatives, all this communication effort is worth doing in order to convince all others. And I'm an optimist myself, so I'm always seeing the glass half full, never half empty. And therefore, when I see it at the mobility industry as a whole, I do see and feel the change. Sure. So this, and I think the customer is getting it, and the customer is also starting to request it. And therefore, I just can invite everyone to be demanding in order to force the industry to change.
And I'd like to add something on that, because I think sustainability, not only climate change, but sustainability as a whole is, of course, you're trying to differentiate, but if you really want to change something, you also have to partner in certain aspects to really make the change happen. And for us, one thing is what we did is we have an initiative of different car manufacturers called Drive Sustainability, and we developed a questionnaire which is very much focusing on to evaluate how our suppliers act on sustainability, on environmental aspects, social aspects, compliance. And what we made out of this questionnaire, which is harmonized, so a supplier doesn't have to kind of fill out a different questionnaire for every customer or car manufacturer, but only one. But we made out of that tool for Audi and the Volkswagen Group, we made a rating. So we have a rating in place, which now is on equal decision level like price and investment or quality, and if a supplier fails that rating, so according to this questionnaire, and if we're not sure that the documents they provided are maybe sufficient, then we even go there and look at it. And if finally the supplier doesn't kind of get a positive rating, you can't get business with Audi or the Volkswagen Group. And this is a really, let's say, strong signal to change. And as I said in the beginning, we're not here to exclude anyone. We're here to celebrate change, actually. So we want to tell people what they have to change and implement in their factories or in their supply chains to live up to our standards. And we really were successful. So we had a lot of kind of first rating. We made this on group level last year. And of course, in the first process, there were many suppliers not really reaching that goal, but now we're successful and they kind of now have a positive rating. In the end, what does this mean, a positive rating? We changed the way they work and produce. So we have an effect on employee level, we have an effect on community level, and this is what we're looking for, positive impact by what we do.
There's another example which I would like to add, because there's another topic where collaboration with other OEMs makes perfectly sense and has direct impact on customer, which is the collaboration with regards to battery standards. battery standards.
Okay, standard.
How's the package, the size of the battery looking like? Because then it can be mass produced for all the ODMs, and the cost per unit and cost per cell, cost per kilowatt is decreasing. And this has a direct impact because the battery of the electric vehicle is the most expensive part. And this is the reason why electric vehicles in this decade will become equally expensive as the internal combustion engine, right? So we have a history of 110 years of internal combustion engine technology. Now comes electric vehicle technology into play, and we have to become on an eye-to-eye level. That's with every single technology, right? So the S-curve, new technology comes in, very expensive, limitations, and then you have the breakthrough. And once it's on an eye-to-eye level, then the consumer is willing to flip the switch.
Okay.
If it's too expensive, and we've seen this over the last 10 years, what happened? So how many are driving EV already, right? So if it's too expensive, the consumer will not flip the switch. Only the progressive ones, the early buyers, the spearheads.
Right.
That has always been the case, and human beings, we are not willing to change. So as soon as this impact is arriving on a cost level and we are equally expensive, like an internal combustion engine vehicle, which is currently now going to be the case, then you will see the increase in terms of acceptance.
Yeah. Rüdiger?
I just would like to add, you said I have 2 jobs. I told about my first job, Mission Zero. Yes, it's the program for sustainable production. But there's another topic, and that's our Audi Environmental Foundation. So 10 years ago, Audi said environment is important for us. We need a foundation, an environmental foundation. And we do there things, non-profit things. So what we do is for everybody. So, and we do things that Audi knows. That means Audi is known for Vorsprung durch Technik. Vorsprung durch Technik, we know how technology works, and we use this technology for the environment. So nature meets technology, and this is called greenovation. So greenovation is our answer, and that's the second answer of Audi, of a company, since 10 years, that we are serious, that our attitude is really important for the environment. That's what we are doing there, and there are many projects. I invite you that I wanted to add this. If you go in the exhibition downstairs, we have very interesting technology projects like second life battery use. We talked a lot about batteries. You see a guy from India, Pradip Chatterjee, he's there and he will show you how he collects the scrap and then he makes second life, light for the third world. It's a very interesting project. And we also have books to change the attitude. You said you have to change the attitude of the people. And we do this with a book. We have a book, Greenovation. I also want to tell you, go downstairs, take this book. You find 50 life hacks, what you can do for yourself, to be honest, and you also find many interesting things about our projects. And that's what I also wanted to say here. Then you can buy an electric car, like Henrik said, and then you take our book and you make one of the 50 life hacks. That would I like very much to do.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any question here on my tablet. I'm not sure if I'm on the right page. Is there any question from the audience from this room, which I might not have here, which is not the case.
There's a question.
Okay, we don't see anything from the stage, but yeah.
I'm from Oslo, and I just can say there the electric mobility is also already a reality, and Audi is very successful in Norway. So do you try to influence the government and the rules in a way to change? Because this has been an important part of the change that has happened in Norway during the last years.
I just can agree with you. Oslo is one of my favorite places because you have to go there because then you can hear how silent a city can become. It's I think it's a beautiful environment where you can do kind of a time travel, because I think 40% of the entire car market in Norway is electrified already. So I fully agree with you, and thank you very much.
Do we have more questions? Just make yourself somehow visible, not to us, but to the microphone. Yes, there's another one.
Awesome. G'day, guys. How's your involvement in Formula E helped with your electrification?
I think we have to be as open-minded with regards to technology as possible. And as always, with regards to mobility, high performance is the most challenging part, right? So it always has been with regards to internal combustion engines, and the same holds true with regards to electrified powertrains. And we all know ourselves, right? We never go back. Once we got used to the airplane, we'd never take the sailing boat anymore to travel the ocean, right? So and the same holds true with regards to mobility. So once you were able to enjoy acceleration, performance, driving pleasure, you would like to keep on enjoying. So therefore, it's our duty to apply our technology expertise to apply it even in the high-performance segment. And the Formula E is, of course, the most extreme part, helping us on how to learn battery cell performance, energy absorption. So that's the most extreme one. So with a regular EV, it's about a constant energy supply. And the race car is about in, out. So, and you have to know about both. And therefore, we are investing in Formula E in order to learn and understand. And we are going to transfer our know-how and form the first electrified sports car next year, the e-tron GT. And stay tuned.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, if I take the time serious, the 30 minutes, they went by like nothing. Thank you, Henrik, Rüdiger, and Marco. It was wonderful to have you here. So I guess you had to have a strong vision. Stay tuned to your vision, and we are very excited to follow your progress and your class, of course. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank
you for being here.